We've got some dating nightmares. Starting off with, guy ditched our date whilst I was in the toilet. I would never go on a date again. I, female 31, went on a first date with a guy in his 40s. We met on one of the dating apps and we have been chatting for a week prior to the date. We don't live in the same city, so we agreed to meet halfway to make it fair for both of us. We agreed on an activity-based date, so I booked and paid for a round of mini golf, plus drinks and bar snacks. I think those kinds of dates are so fun. Anyway, fast forward to this evening. We were literally chatting over messages in the lead up to getting to the date venue. He arrived a few minutes after me, we grabbed our drinks, and we played golf. We kept stopping in between holes to chat, and we seemed like we were getting on and having a laugh, etc. He made multiple comments throughout the date about my appearance. Example, that he thought I was pretty, attractive, his type. He even made a couple of remarks about me having a nice figure and made some comments about me having a good bum, etc. We finished playing golf and then we proceed to sit in the bar area to finish our drinks. I then ask him whether I should ask for our bar snacks to be brought over. He replies to say that he's not hungry, so I suggest we can potentially grab them later. He then suggests grabbing them to go later. So I'm like, yeah, okay, no worries, happy to do that. We carry on chatting. I then finish my drink, so I say, I might grab another drink. Would you like another? He responds to say he's happy to just finish the drink that he's got. So I say, okay, I'm just gonna go pop to the loo and then I'll grab a drink on my way back. He then says that he also needs to go to the toilet. So I suggested that he go, as he'd probably be quicker than me, and that I could go when he got back. So off he goes, and I sit waiting for him to return. Oh no, this is gonna get awkward. He returns a couple of minutes later. Before I left the table, I asked if he was sure he didn't want another drink. He said he didn't. So then I was thinking, maybe he's just not interested or feeling the date then. So then I say, I don't have to go get myself another drink if you don't want to stay. He said it was fine. So I said, okay, fine. I'll pop to the loo and then I'll grab my drink and I'll be back. I go to the toilet, and as I'm walking back to our table, I can see it's empty. Literally, just his unfinished drink left on the table. He's nowhere to be seen and his coat is gone. I do a quick scan of the bar area and I can't see him. So I shoot him a quick, "Where are you?" message on WhatsApp and see that it's not delivered. His profile photo then disappears, so I realize I've been blocked. I'm feeling seriously embarrassed at this point, so I just grabbed my coat and left. I'm just absolutely baffled, and I'm also feeling pretty crappy. Like, I've been on dates previously and I've realized that I'm not feeling the other person, but never in my life have I ever ditched anyone or treated anyone like crap. I've always seen the date out until it's the natural end and then thank the person for their time, and I just let them know that I'm not interested in a second date, etc. I just honestly can't believe it, especially from a bloke in his 40s. Surely you have enough life experience at this point to be able to reject someone politely. It just seems really immature as well as downright rude. I know deep down that this is more of a reflection of him and his bad character, but I can't help but take it to heart. I'm now sitting here obsessing over every little detail and wondering what I did or said to warrant being ditched without so much as a word. He made multiple comments about finding me attractive, so now I'm thinking, wow, is my personality really that rubbish? I don't even know what I'm expecting from this post. I just wanted to get it off my chest, I suppose. Feeling pretty crappy about myself right now. I would be the same way of like blaming myself, but girl, you know it's not you. I just don't understand that, because you're almost done the date at that point. Even if you're not interested, that's fine. You don't have to be. But you've made it this far. Just finish it out and just say, yeah, I'm good. I don't need another drink, you know. Be polite. Next up, I'm embarrassingly stupid. I say that to myself probably 3 times a day. And it's always true. I'm pretty sure that I'm an idiot for this one. Not too sure how I believed any of this. My best friend introduced me to this guy saying I'd really like him. He's 31, super hot, and has an accent. I was 20 at the time, so 11 years older seemed pretty big, but most of my family has significant age differences. I went and met with him and my friend as well as a couple other people, and we really hit it off. He told me he's from South Africa but has been working in the States almost all year for the last 3 years. We started hanging out every single night, most of the time with my good friend. Eventually, it was just us, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. By this point, I was totally smitten and of course agreed. My first boyfriend, oh my God, it was amazing. Totally perfect, no problems. Just wait, the problems will come. Maybe that should have been a red flag in itself. Rumors went around town that he was married, had kids, etc. So I confronted him about it. He told me he was in the middle of a divorce, but yes, is married, and yes, he has kids, but only 2 of them, and they're 6 and 9. Again, not horrible. I end up forgiving him. I had totally fallen for him and didn't want to let whatever this was die over something so insignificant. I mean, he was my first boyfriend, my first kiss, my first everything. Oh girl, you are just head over heels under this man's love spell. But again, things were perfect and amazing and no problems. Or we might be ignoring them. It finally came to November, which is when he had to return home for the next 3 months. I knew this from the day I met him, but it was still hard. I knew he was going to leave in November and I wouldn't hear from him for about a week while he traveled home and got his phone fixed. After a week had come and gone, I decided to recruit my sister and we did some hardcore investigations where we found out the truth. His phone was working because he posted to Facebook, which means he just wasn't messaging me. But here's the kicker. He was married, seeming happily, according to his wife's Facebook page. And he didn't have 2 kids because he had 3. And they weren't 6 and 9, they were 17 and 16 and 14. And the worst thing is he wasn't 31 because he was 37, almost 38, almost 20 years older than me. He finally got in touch with me over a month after leaving. I can't believe I fell for this. Introduced him to my family, paraded around town in front of everybody, and then it turned out this way. So effing embarrassing. I was too embarrassed to go into town at all after this and moved the first chance I got 2 states away. You know, young love. We're all young and maybe a little bit naive sometimes. You can't blame yourself forever, girl. The choices I made when I was 20, I'm not holding on to those, okay? They were dumb, they were stupid. Oh well, you live and you friggin' learn. Next up, worst date ever. It was awful. Tell us how you really feel. So was talking to this guy for about a week. I met with him on a date tonight at the Cheesecake Factory, which one of my editors just let me know is located in Toronto. And I know it! Lived here for like 10 years. He asked about the parking and I told him it was free and he complained about traffic. First, he asked about children in the future and my fertility. He said, with my age, I should have a kid already by now. I'm 30. I get that all the time, unfortunately. Then we moved on to work. He told me he was a 2nd grade teacher, but he now works in healthcare because he hasn't been able to pass his state boards. He works in an office with all women, and according to him, it's awful to be in the office environment that is mainly women. He hates them, and they are all out to get him. They set him up at the office for failure. Then we talk about vacations. I start telling him about a vacation I went on recently with my friends, and he cuts me off and says he went to Aruba and how it was awful. Very positive energy from this guy. Does he like anything? He also asked me to look over my shoulder to see the Eagles game. He checked his phone a lot during the date as well. I looked over to do that. Then he tells me I have to eat more. He asks if I'm on any anti-anxiety medication and a lot of other very odd questions. After that, we talk about family. I tell him about my family traditions and he wants me to tell him what I want for Christmas. I'm not your girlfriend. I don't need you to know what I want for Christmas. He's also odd about himself being a good man and a great man. He tells me he is strong like a million times. Then he gets to this point that I don't need to go home and that I can stay with him all night. He was also rude. He was also rude to the waitress and the whole staff. If the rest wasn't enough, that would be it for me. I hate people who are rude. They literally asked me in front of him if I was okay. He was rude to the people dining around us. I went to the bathroom and some more of the staff came out to talk to me and asked if I was okay. They told me the bathroom was right next to the exit, so I went to leave and he started texting me that he saw me leaving. And he was so embarrassed and that I embarrassed him, and how dare I embarrass him. I told him I had a family emergency and he goes, "You have to tell me what I did wrong. Now I just feel hot, mad, and dizzy. I feel like I'm buzzed even though I never drank on this date." Oh, you did a little bathroom ditcheroo. Do you guys agree with that? I think it's situational. If someone's making you like violently uncomfortable and you feel unsafe, like you gotta protect yourself. But if someone's just like annoying, would you just tough it through the date, or are you like, nah, I'm out of here? Perfect time before we get to more awful dates. I don't know how y'all do it. I'm telling you, if I ever became single, I ain't dating. I'm dying alone with my dogs. That's it. I have water in my cup. Let me know what's in yours. Cheers. Next up, I thought we were finally having our moment. Nope. Background. In high school, I had a guy friend. Let's call him Sam. Sam and I became fast friends freshman year and would constantly flirt. I don't know when I developed such a fat crush on him, but I know that by the same time the next year we had the same homeroom and we were practically inseparable. My best friend at the time, let's call her Lori, used to make fun of us and tell us to date already, but I never had the courage to ask him out, and neither did he. Basically, all of high school we watched each other be in relationships or talk to other people and never admit that we had feelings for each other. Fun fact, I dated my lifelong best friend in high school. One of my best friends since kindergarten, and we dated in high school. Clearly didn't work out, but we're still friends. It's fine. Years later, the summer before senior year of college, I went to visit my best friend from high school, Lori, who went to a college nearby. I'd been messaging Sam, and at the time, he told me he was in town, so I asked if he wanted to join us. We texted a couple of times since high school, usually when he was going through a breakup. I found this out later. To me and Lori's surprise, he actually showed up. Late though, LOL, but he hung out with us and we all ended up staying up all night, all the way through 7 a.m. the next morning. I miss pulling all-nighters and being young. Oh, those were the days. At the time, my friend Lori wanted to go to sleep and Sam and I decided to leave at the same time. Ooh. We actually ended up stopping for coffee. Y'all aren't going to bed? On our way out at a nearby Dunkin' and talked for 2 more hours before we decided we should head home and get some sleep. After that, he came to visit me a few more times over the summer. At the time, she was living in NC and I was living in MD. My parents moved to NC, so when I went to visit them, he also came up to meet me in that area. We went out on dates, I cooked him dinner, and we did things we never did as friends. We talked about our dating lives and how we felt, and he would say things like, "I wish we had done this in high school," and acted like he would be okay with doing some long distance. Basically, he said things to me and did things with me that made me think we could be more than friends, and I felt I made it clear that I don't have sex with just anyone, and we did after that. A few weeks later, he had gone back to NC and I went traveling abroad for about 2 to 3 weeks, during which he was messaging and we would FaceTime and the conversation was still very flirty. But when I got back, my friend Lori told me she saw that he had posted another girl on his Snapchat story. She confronted him saying, "I think you owe her a conversation." Not long after, I got a call from him at work and I couldn't answer. The voicemail goes something like this: "It didn't overlap, me and that girl and me and you. It didn't overlap. Please call me back or let me know when you're ready to talk." I never called him back. I was heartbroken. I texted him. I didn't think I could handle a call without crying. That no apology begins like that, and it shows that he knows he did something wrong and doesn't want to take responsibility. He stuck to his guns and said he didn't do anything wrong. I know we weren't dating, but I disagree that he didn't do anything wrong. It took me a long time to fully realize, but there is nothing wrong with me. I was fully myself when I was with him, and it was hurtful to see him choose another girl over me, despite everything he said and did. It doesn't bother me so much anymore, and I know I'm happier without him. I just sometimes wonder what it would have been like if things didn't turn out that way. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. You guys could she keep a friendship after that? I don't know. My ex from high school, who was my lifelong friend, we had to take some time apart from being friends after that, because that was my first love, and we dated for like over 3 years. And that was my first everything, my first love, you know? So we didn't come back as friends until, you know, we were adults, we had moved on, years down the road, that kind of thing. That would be hard to just be friends with someone that you have feelings for. Next up, rejected after babysitting a stranger's child until 3 a.m. I have so many questions. Matched with a girl online, went on a couple of dates. Things seemed to be going okay, or at least she seemed to like getting drunk and handsy with me. What? Met up for a third date. And right as we were leaving her apartment around 8 p.m., her friend calls her and asks her to babysit her 4-year-old for an hour or two while she's taking care of something important. Being a kind idiot, I offered to tag along and help, thinking we can just pick back up on our date later. Cut to several hours later at her friend's place, and I am watching kids' movies and playing games with a child I've never met before, digging around in a stranger's kitchen to find him some snacks, and generally doing 100% of the work. I've worked in daycares before, so taking care of kids is something that I'm used to. But while I'm doing all of this, my date is sitting in a chair in the other room, ignoring us both by scrolling endlessly on her phone. Worst babysitter ever. Thank God you were there to do the work. I'm being vigilantly watched the entire time by an absolute mountain of a mixed breed dog that growls at me every time I stand up. Around 3 a.m., her friend staggers through the front door, hammer knocking drunk. Oh. After a brief and awkward goodbye, we hand the child over and head back to my date's apartment across town. She offers to let me crash there since it's so late, and not being in the mood to drive 45 minutes home, I accept. We share her bed, but we are both exhausted, so sleeping is all we had on our minds. I woke up around 9 a.m. to her roughly shaking me awake. She simply tells me it isn't working out and tells me to leave. I did, and we never spoke again. After that, I swore to never date online. And that's what you get for being nice and offering to help babysit. That's terrible. A short version of a long story about a relationship that never was. Summer of 2020 was rough. I had just graduated university and missed my last 3 months of enjoying on-campus university life, and we had no celebrations or in-person graduations or anything to really feel happy about. I started working at a local farm brewery to start saving some money, to hopefully travel one day once COVID had died down. When I started working there, I realized that there were some attractive girls that were around my age working at the brewery. But I just wasn't feeling myself, and I didn't feel like dating or anything. Then one day I met a girl that had been away on her senior week of high school. She was another cute and tan blonde, and that was all I thought of her, especially because she was about 5 years younger than me. As the weeks went by, I started realizing that I kept glancing up from whatever I was doing, and if she was nearby, sometimes she was looking at me. Giving the eyes. I didn't think too much of it because, like I said, I just wasn't feeling myself. We would have casual conversations, but nothing that even indicated she was interested in me. Well, after a while, I had an idea, and I decided to ask and see what she would say. I asked her if she would go flying with me. What does that mean? Since she had mentioned she would be leaving at the end of summer to start learning how to fly at the college she was starting at, like fly an airplane. She seemed surprised by my request, which was out of the blue, and she said yes. I planned out the flight and I asked her, wait, what? Did I miss something? Is this what you do for a living? She seemed surprised by my request, which was out of the blue, and she said yes. I planned out the flight and I asked her if she could fly the plane while I used my camera to take some aerial photographs of things like the farm brewery we worked at. I actually just wanted to take her flying and maybe teach her some things about the airplane to give her a head start once she started to fly at college, and also give her some time flying the airplane. This just feels way too casual for something like flying an airplane. Once we finally made it happen, it went great, and when it was just us in the plane, I was overcome by happiness. I was suspicious of it at first because I hadn't hung out with anyone in a long time, especially a girl, but I couldn't shake the feeling. But after the flight, I still felt it. I sat in my car once we were done and she had left, and it was just pure bliss. I was so happy. To condense this long story, basically I asked if she wanted to go kayaking a week later, and she didn't seem that interested in person. So I finally texted her and asked one night, and I never got a response. By the time, I felt super weird about it because we still saw each other while we were working at the brewery, and I was still very self-aware of the age difference between us. She had just finished high school and I had just finished college. And I knew that when we originally met, I wasn't feeling any of the things that I now felt. I wasn't trusting my feelings at all, and I kept my distance for weeks after asking her about kayaking because it felt weird, like I'd gone too far or read things wrong. Anyways, things only got worse for me because it turned into a total crush, and she was all that I could think about. I still kept my distance and wasn't a creep about it or anything, lol. Work was a struggle and she had no idea I was feeling any of this. But then, completely out of the blue, while a bunch of us at the brewery are setting up outdoor cushions in the patio area, she suddenly hits me, playfully, in the back while I was carrying cushions. I turned around, shocked, and she finally blurted out, "Why didn't you ever text me back about kayaking?" I couldn't believe it. It blew me away. I explained to her that I never got a text back from her. She was embarrassed because she finally admitted that sometimes her friends don't get texts from her phone. I was amazed, and I realized that maybe she did also have feelings for me. If y'all don't end up together after this, in the end. Well, to summarize, things never materialized. I texted her to try and set up a date to go kayaking, but once again, I never got a response. By this time, she had stopped working at the brewery because she was getting ready to head off to the flying college, which was 6 states away. There's the kicker. Then one day I get a text from her after not hearing from her for a week, and she suddenly responds, "I'm so sorry, I got in trouble and I had my phone taken. I'll text you soon." I couldn't believe it again. I was so happy. She wasn't playing me. It was just really, really bad luck. Right? But to me, her message reinforced the discomfort of our age difference. Since having a phone taken away seems like punishment for a child, but I still wanted to be around her just to talk and to try to build some kind of friendship. I just wanted to tell her how I felt before she left. But alas, things didn't work out and she left for college. I felt less happy at work and just overall felt like I was going to miss her for a long time. Then one day she suddenly texted me and asked for my Snapchat. I was so excited. We started snapping all the time. We had a super long snap streak. I was so curious about how her experience was at the flying college. Then she started sending me pics of her in her dorm room with her girl roommates and a bunch of guys also in the room. It was fine at first, but then I realized that things would only be worse for me if I started to feel jealous, and I finally decided to open up to her, and I sent her everything. All the things I had been feeling about her. She was surprised. She said she had no idea, and also confessed that she had strong feelings for me. Basically, it felt like a huge relief to me to get it off my chest, and we kept on Snapchatting. But eventually, I decided to stop. I felt shitty about the entire thing. I knew there was nothing I could do now. There was no way I was ever going to attempt a long-distance relationship because we hadn't established any kind of strong connection before she left for school, and I just had a feeling that it wouldn't work. The time had already passed for a chance to try and start some kind of strong friendship, and her Snapchats felt less convincing, like I was gradually fading from her mind. Well, months and months passed. I occasionally heard from her a couple more times. A few times I received texts from her asking if she could call me, and I said absolutely, anytime. But she never called me after that. And I felt played. My emotions were all messed up. My life still felt wrecked by the results of COVID, and this experience hasn't helped. And there are a lot more details, but I tried to keep it at the shortest it could be, lol. It honestly feels like a movie plot. You know, when you're just like, come on, just give it a chance. You never know what it could be. Try the distance. But no, nothing ever happened. The universe works in mysterious ways. Maybe like 20 years from now, y'all will find your way back together, like in the movies. Or not at all. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy, and I'll see you tomorrow.